Raikkonen, Vettel, Button, and Rosberg. These were the names of the champions that used to excite us in F1's recent past. However, recently, I've noticed something interesting, and you probably have too. I want you to sit down and have a think about which F1 drivers have had a real shot at the championship over the last 10 years in F1. Okay, Hamilton, Rosberg, but he's gone, same with Vettel. Verstappen, let's be honest, Bottas was never going to be given a chance at Mercedes, but for the benefit of the doubt, we'll give it to him too. So that's 5 drivers who have challenged for the World Championship over 10 years. But we need a comparison, so taking it back 10 years earlier, when Oscar Piastri was probably playing Minecraft, between 2003 and 2013, you had Schumacher, Alonso, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Massa, Button, Vettel, Barrichello when he was with Brawn, and Webber, all in with a realistic chance of the championship in at least one of those years. For those mathematically challenged, that's 9 drivers, and most of them would have opportunities at the front for more than just 1 year. Right, okay, so I've made my point. We used to have more drivers fighting at the front, but why is that and what does it actually mean? To say the current F1 grid isn't talented would be an understatement. We've seen some incredibly strong junior careers and drivers appear over the last few years. Leclerc, Norris, Russell, even Piastri and Albon this year have had that title of future champion cast over them by F1 pundits and the paddock. Some of which actually know what they're talking about, maybe not Danica Patrick. But some of these guys have yet to be able to deliver on that, and at the end of the day, is that actually their fault? Well, you might say Leclerc had a bit of a chance at the start of 2022, but by the end of the season, the points gap was over 140, which makes it mostly another write-off, even if errors were partly to blame for that. In my opinion, the blame lies with the teams. The fact of the matter is, we've gone through a truly dominant period of time in F1, from just Mercedes and Red Bull. Other teams have not really been able to challenge, which realistically means it is just up to them to, in the words of Christian Horner, change your fucking car. But fine, we've had teams dominate before. Ferrari in the 2000s, Williams in the 90s, McLaren in the late 80s. But no one says those seasons are boring. So let's have a look at what's different there. Before I continue, I want to make a few things clear. First of all, I would love for this video to age terribly. I hope in the coming years we see excitement and the true potential of some of the younger drivers I mentioned really start to shine through. I also love hearing from you, so tell me what era of F1 you enjoyed the most and why, as we head towards the 90s to discuss Domination. I'm going to pick the period between 1990 and 2000, just to really focus on how the decade changed. Let's first of all do our stress test and see how many different drivers actually had a shot, not necessarily won, but a shot at the Formula 1 World Championship in this time period. We had Ayrton Senna, Alan Prost, Nigel Mansell, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Hakkinen, and Eddie Irvine. You could throw David Coulthard in there, but I don't think he ever had the pace. So ignoring DC, that gives us a solid 8 drivers fighting in the 90s, with only Irvine not being able to hold on to that trophy. In this period, I would say there was around 3 years of complete domination. 1991 with Senna, 1992 with Mansell, and although it was a little bit closer, 1993 with Prost. But for example, the year Mansell won was very special to many viewers. Admittedly, there was a huge British bias in F1 at the time. I mean, imagine being British, as most people felt he deserved it. The same goes for Senna's domination with the Brazilian fanbase, as he had just been fighting Prost the year before and was bringing so much excitement. There is also how insanely different the driver's market was. Despite how dominant certain teams like Williams were, especially between 91 and 93, you had multiple different drivers. 1992, Nigel Mansell wins convincingly and then leaves. 1993, in comes Prost, takes his last WDC over Senna and then leaves. 1994, Senna goes to Williams to bring the fight to Schumacher. Unfortunately, that's the year of the Imola accident, but Damon Hill is then thrust into the title battle, and it goes down to the wire 1 point in favor of Schumacher. All surprisingly with no controversy. Hill struggles despite being in a good car for 95, and then Schumacher takes another surprising title with Benetton. 1996, fans are pleased to see Damon Hill get what many believed was rightfully his world title, title, but because of contracts already in place with Frentzen, Hill doesn't renew, and Villeneuve takes the championship with Williams in 1997. So throughout the whole period of Williams' domination, not one driver actually won the world title with them more than once. Compare this to modern F1, and Lewis and Max are happy to build the team around them in more of a Schumacher and Ferrari fashion, rather than trying to move teams to the best car each year. Which is the last point I have. Because of how academies are structured now, because of the huge investments teams put into creating their star drivers, many drivers, unless you're Oscar Piastri, feel more obligated to stay with the team, or they realize building up the team around themselves is one of the most successful methods in modern F1. So it means we end up seeing the same people on top. Thankfully, this won't last forever. Hamilton, Verstappen, and Alonso will eventually leave F1, meaning someone else will have to become world champion. Red Bull and Mercedes will both balls up a season and therefore give way to a different team at the front. It could be 2024, it could be 2034, or possibly the year 3000 before Fernando ever considers retiring. But as always with F1, the way to win the sport is changing, and I'm sure something or someone that we may never imagine will create a huge change in the near future. So subscribe if you're optimistic about this, as we're trying to hit 50,000 subscribers. Goodbye!